Open your Steam library. Pick a game you haven't played in over a year. Try to launch it. If it works, lucky you. If not, look at the error. Update required. License expired. Failed to verify ownership. You didn't break anything. You didn't forget anything. The system just decided you no longer have the right. And you don't get to argue. That's not a bug. That's the architecture. And it's been built for 50 years. Here's how. 1976, Atari releases the first cartridge. The game is a chip inside plastic. Atari pours epoxy resin over the chip. You can't see inside. First hardware protection ever. Hackers find a way, heat the resin with acid. It softens. The chip is red. The game is copied. Same principle applies today, only the acid is different. 1982, Commodore 64. Games on floppy disks. Zero protection. One person buys. Thousands copy. Developers go broke. A game cost 2 weeks of minimum wage. A blank floppy cost pocket change. The choice was obvious. 1984, Edward Log. 18 years old. He invents the Trainer, a mod that gives infinite lives. He gets arrested. First arrest for game cracking in history. The judge says, "You modified someone else's code." Log says, "I modified something running on my computer." The judge doesn't see the difference. 1989, Nintendo vs. Game Genie. A device that plugs between cartridge and console and changes memory values. The judge rules, Game Genie doesn't copy the game. It modifies what already belongs to the user. That's not piracy. That's modification. Precedent set. You have the right to change what you bought. Today, that right is gone. Quietly. 1990, Sega releases Sonic. The game requires the disc in the drive. Hackers write a patch that tricks the drive. No disc needed. 1991, Best Buy starts selling CD burners. $500 for a drive that burns 1 disc per hour. Within 2 years, the price drops to $100. 1994, PlayStation 1. Mod chips. You solder a tiny chip to a leg of the processor. The console thinks every disc is legit. Kids in garages sell modded PlayStations at flea markets. $200 for the console. $50 for the mod. Cash only. No questions. 1996, Nintendo 64. Cartridges are back. But now they have a battery inside. The battery powers save memory. When it dies, your saves die with it. You can't replace the battery. It's soldered in. Your 100 hours are on a timer. Nintendo made games temporary. Long before subscriptions. 1997, CDR, blank discs for $1. You burn a game. Put it in your console. It works. Sony adds libcrypt protection. It hides data in the audio track. Hackers release Clone CD, a program that copies everything, errors included. The arms race begins. Sony makes it harder. Hackers make it easier. Each round takes months. No one wins. Users download patches. At some point, something became obvious. This wasn't about protecting games anymore. This was about controlling access. 1998, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act passes. It makes it illegal to bypass any digital lock. Even if you own the thing you're unlocking. The DMCA creates a new crime, circumvention. You can go to jail for breaking a lock on your own property. 1999, to CSS. A Norwegian teenager named John Johansson writes a program that breaks DVD encryption. Hollywood loses its mind. The FBI demands the code be removed from the internet. Johansson gets sued. He says, code is speech. I have a First Amendment right. He's acquitted. But the case drags for 3 years. By then, CSS is everywhere. DVD protection is dead. 2000, Bleem. A PlayStation emulator for PC. You buy a PS1 disc, put it in your computer, play in better quality than the original hardware. Sony sues. The judge rules, emulation is legal. But Sony drags the case for years. Bleem goes bankrupt. They won legally. They died financially. Today, emulators are alive. But only because they don't charge money. Free is fine. Paid, you're dead. 2001, Xbox. Microsoft builds a console with a hard drive. You can install the game and never insert the disk again. But Microsoft ties the game to the hardware. Switch consoles, game won't launch. Swap hard drives, game won't launch. Hackers break the Xbox through the USB port. They load their own code before the system boots. The console is open. Microsoft pushes an update. Hackers find another port. Microsoft pushes another update. This race is still going. 2003, Steam launches. Not as a store. As an activation system. You buy Half-Life 2 at GameStop. Bring it home. Can't play, Steam servers are down. That was the moment everything changed. You could hold the disc in your hands and still not be allowed to play. People flood forums. I paid. I have the disc. Why can't I play? No answer. 2 days later, servers come back. The question stays. 2005, Xbox 360. DVD drive flashing. You change the drive's firmware so it reads burned discs. Microsoft drops a ban wave. Thousands of consoles get error Z0000-000F. Console is connected to the internet. But it can't sign in. That's not a block. That's a sentence. Hackers write stealth firmware. The drive pretends to be legal. Microsoft writes a detector. Consoles die again. 2006, PlayStation 3. Sony includes other OS, you can install Linux. Then they remove it via a system update. A class action lawsuit. Millions of dollars. Sony loses. They pay. But Linux never comes back. You bought a console with a feature. Now it's gone. No refunds. 2008, Mass Effect. First game that requires online activation after install. You buy the box at Walmart. Go home. Can't play, the servers are down. Forums explode. People from across the US write the same thing, $60 for a game. And it doesn't work without internet. 2009, Assassin's Creed 2. Ubisoft demands always online. The game checks if you bought it every few minutes. If your internet blinks, the game stops. Even in single player. You can stand in a hallway. Doing nothing. The game won't work. At some point, another thing became obvious. This wasn't about stopping piracy anymore. This was about training you to stop asking what you actually own. The protection falls in 9 days. 9 days against millions in R&D, hackers laugh. Ubisoft says nothing. 2010, Xbox 360 modding moves to a chip soldered to the motherboard. You turn on the console, the chip intercepts the boot. Microsoft can't see it. But Microsoft learns. A new update checks every component. If the chip is there, the console dies. Hackers rewire the chip. Microsoft drops another update. 2011, George Hotz GeoHot breaks the PlayStation 3 through USB. He gets full system access. Publishes the code online. Sony sues. They demand Hotz destroy all his data. They forbid him from touching any Sony product ever again. Hackers around the world attack Sony. Data leaks. DDoS. Sony backs down. Settlement. Hotz walks away. He goes into drone research. Then AI. 2012, Diablo 3 launches. People take days off work. Some quit their jobs. They log in at midnight. Error 37. Server busy. Thousands of people see the same screen. The game is bought. The access is denied. Blizzard says, we didn't expect this many players. That's a lie. They knew. They just didn't buy enough servers. 2013, Xbox One announcement, online check every 24 hours. If the console doesn't connect for a day, it becomes a brick. Gamers lose their minds. Microsoft reverses the policy in 2 weeks. But the stain remains. They tried. They'll try again. Just later. 2014, Denuvo. FIFA 15. First game with new protection. Denuvo doesn't check, it obfuscates. The code becomes a maze. 4 months. No one can crack it. Publishers celebrate. Hackers study. Denuvo encrypts the entire game. Completely. During runtime, only tiny pieces are decrypted, exactly what's needed at that moment. You jump? Jump code decrypts. You shoot? Shoot code decrypts. Hackers have to collect the game piece by piece. Play every level. Open every door. 2016, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Cracked after half a year. 6 months of a team rebuilding the game like a broken vase. 2017, Nintendo Switch. A hardware bug in the NVIDIA Tegra X1 chip. Boot ROM exploit. You can load your own code before the protection even starts. Crack in minutes. Nintendo releases a new hardware revision 3 years later. 3 years of free games. 2018, Denuvo adds a new layer, cloud authentication. The game checks you not on your PC, but on Denuvo's servers. You can't trick something you don't control. But hackers learn to emulate the servers. Denuvo makes it harder. Hackers emulate better. 2019, Google Stadia. The game isn't on your computer. The game is in the cloud. You pay for the right to watch a game. Stadia dies in 3 years. Thousands of people lose access to every game they bought. No refunds. No copies. Goodbye, saves. 2020, Epic Games Store. Free giveaways. Millions grab games. But they don't own them. The games sit in the library until Epic decides otherwise. For the first time, the race stopped being human. AI started finding vulnerabilities faster than people. And more importantly, faster than companies could fix them. And humans can't keep up anymore. 2022, Denuvo releases AI-powered protection. The system learns from each attack. Every crack makes the next crack harder. 2023, players lose access to purchased games on Ubisoft Connect. The company says, your license expired. But the license was permanent. Lawyers file a class action. The case is still ongoing. You can follow it online. And realize, no court will bring back your saves. 2024, you open your library. You look at games you played 10 years ago. Half of them require internet. A quarter are tied to an old PC you recycled. Try this. Pick a game you bought 10 years ago. Now try to give it to a friend. You can't. You can't sell it. You can't leave it to your kids. You can only look at icons and remember. Remember that cracked copy of San Andreas? The one you got from a friend on a flash drive? 2 hours of copying. 3 failed transfers. 4th one worked. That game didn't need permission to exist. Open your library right now. Look at the list. Ask yourself, what do you actually own? Drop a number in the comments. How many you think you own, and how many actually belong to you?